Welcome to Gay Fairfax, the capital area's only weekly gay entertainment magazine sharing news, views, and pride. I'm Dave Hughes.
And I'm Beth Goodman. Each week we'll feature events and personalities of interest to the gay women and men of the Northern Virginia area.
On this edition of Gay Fairfax, we'll hear from two people who are not only exciting speakers in their own right, but are also important spokespersons for the gay and lesbian community.
Our first guest is Alan Stevens, co-chair of the Maryland chapter of the Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Veterans of America.
And we'll hear from Urvashi Vaid, a name familiar to many, as she addresses the 1991 Gay Pride Festival.
Getting the Department of Defense to repeal discriminatory policies dealing with lesbians and gay men is no easy task. But the Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Veterans of America is a group dedicated to that purpose.
The Maryland chapter is co-chaired by tonight's first guest, Alan Stevens. Alan is interviewed by our own co-anchor and correspondent, Beth Goodman. Beth recently asked Alan to discuss the group's activities.
As gays and lesbians in the military become more and more of an issue, everyone has questions about that. And we're very happy tonight to have with us someone that can possibly answer some of our questions about gays and lesbians in the military. We have with us Alan Stevens, who is a co-chair of the Maryland chapter of Gays, Lesbians, and Bisexual Veterans of America. Welcome, Alan, and thank you for taking this time with us.
Pleasure to be here.
Let me start by asking a little bit about you and getting a little background on you, and that might obviously answer people's questions as to how and why you're involved in this organization. I understand that until fairly recently you were an active duty member, in fact an officer in the military. You were involved in what branch of service?
I was in the United States Army.
And carried what rank, Alan?
I got out as a first lieutenant, and after I got out I was put into the reserve slots where I was eventually promoted to captain.
And what was your decision-making process in terms of getting out of the military? Did it involve being gay, or?
Well, when I entered the military, actually this is not a very common story. A lot of people have similar stories. When I entered the military, I really didn't understand my sexual orientation. Coming from a small town in the South, University of Alabama is where I went to college. And so I entered the military knowing I had these feelings, but not knowing how I could explain it, so I decided I was going to live a heterosexual life since I didn't understand what a homosexual life was. I didn't even know it existed. So I went through the military and I got married, and then I began to learn more and more about what gay life was. And in October of 1987, I had told my wife that I was homosexual, and shortly after that I resigned my commission in the Army. And I had a type of commission that you never really get out unless you get thrown out. So I resigned my commission, and now I'm in the individual ready reserves.
So what I'm hearing you say is that when you did come to terms with your sexuality, when you realized that in fact you were gay, you recognized for yourself that being gay and being in the military was not a compatible situation, or at least for you personally?
Absolutely, because maybe I'm selfish, but I want to live my life to the fullest, and you just couldn't be gay and be in the military and for, as far as I'm concerned, be happy.
Alan, how did then Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Veterans of America get started? I understand that there are many groups throughout the country. Would you fill us in a little bit on the background of the organization?
Sure. There's several, in the past, there have been several gay veterans groups, and the oldest was in San Diego. And 2 years ago, several of them met, and they decided to create a larger body and connect them all to a networking system. And they termed that the Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Veterans of America. And there's presently 18 chapters throughout the country, and we're shooting for 100 chapters by the time that the March on Washington occurs in 1993.
Is your chapter in Maryland the only local chapter to the whole metropolitan area, or are there any in D.C. and Northern Virginia?
That's a good question. The Maryland chapter covers, of course, all of Maryland. They have a Capital Region chapter which covers people in the metropolitan Washington area. And we also have a chapter in Norfolk, a very active chapter in Norfolk, Virginia, and pretty soon there should be one in Richmond as well. So they're popping up all over the place.
How many folks do you have involved in your Maryland chapter? How many gay, lesbian, and bisexual veterans are there out there?
Well, that's a very surprising figure. I have, I believe, last count, 120 people on our mailing list, and we have 25 people who are always attend the meetings or always getting involved in one of our activities. So we have a fairly active membership, and we also have a large base to pull from. So
it sounds like people are becoming more and more willing to come forward and identify themselves, at least after they're veterans, that yes, in fact, they have been military folks who are gay and lesbian. What kinds of things has your organization done? What activities are you most particularly proud of, or do you feel has had a major impact?
Well, there's several. The crowning jewel was last night when an active duty colonel from the War College actually came to one of our meetings and spoke to us about what our thoughts were on the policy, and she wanted us to defend the policy in light of what her colleagues were saying about the reasons why it should not be changed. And one of the other things that we really work on very strongly is we want to get support from our own community, because we believe that this is an extremely important issue. It's a milestone. Once the policy changes, it's going to be a milestone.
You're talking about the DOD policy that gays and lesbians should be excluded, and once found out, can be summarily discharged.
Right. The policy states that homosexuality is incompatible with military service. And we feel that when that policy changes, that will be a milestone for gay and lesbian civil rights. And that's something that's going to fall, I think, within the next 5 years if people keep pushing the way they are pushing now.
What gives you that positive impetus? What makes you think that? What kind of signs have you seen to that effect?
Well, the list of justifications of the Defense Department has declined or decreased down to one. And that justification is the foxhole theory. The foxhole theory being if you have a homosexual and a heterosexual in the same foxhole, there's going to be a breakdown in trust, therefore the mission's not going to be accomplished. And they've backed off of the we're not a good soldier theory, the security risk theory, the deviant behavior theory, and now we're down to that one. And it's so bigoted of a every time they try to defend that foxhole theory, they come out sounding like a bigot. So what they do now is they don't even talk about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep making them talk about it. And I think over the next 5 years, maybe 1 year, maybe 6 months, maybe 5 years, eventually the American public is going to demand that the policy be changed.
So what kinds of things, Alan, would you like to recommend to non-military gay and lesbian people that they do to support this policy repeal, to support organizations like yours? What are the things that we can do?
What everyone can do, even the straight people who are on our side, is they can write their congressman, and they can ask their congressman to support House Resolution 271, which is the resolution that just was introduced the 6th of November in Congress by Barbara Boxer. And that resolution asked President Bush, who has the authority as a commander-in-chief to change that policy, asked him to change the policy.
So keep those cards and letters coming is what you're saying.
That's right.
That's the main thing.
Right.
And whenever your organization is out there doing any kind of a peaceful march or anywhere that you are, you just welcome support from the whole community.
When you see the heads, the politicians count votes. And that's one thing a politician will understand is a vote. And the more people who are pushing for this policy, the harder it is for the politician to ignore us.
Alan, we wish you all the best in this very important work, and we do hope the community will get behind it, and we're going to see some positive action on this one real soon. Again, thank you, Alan Stevens from the Maryland chapter of Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Veterans of America.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure.
So you want to be in television. Express yourself and your creative talents as a member of a dynamic group of people here at Gay Fairfax.
Join the Gay Fairfax team today. Maybe you possess behind-the-camera skills such as camera operation, field production, or script writing.
Or maybe you'd like to express yourself in front of the camera by interviewing guests.
Either way, Gay Fairfax is the place for you. Learn or refine your skills and have fun, too.
Write to us at Gay Fairfax, care of FLGCA, Post Office Box 2322, Springfield, Virginia 22152. Or call us. That number is 703-451-9528. So let us hear from you now.
And now to tonight's second guest. Urvashi Vaid is one of the most dynamic and powerful speakers in the lesbian and gay community today. She spoke at the 1991 Gay Pride Day activities.
Urvashi spoke about the place of lesbians and gay men in society. She called for a coalition in the community, a coalition for action.
Our next speaker is a previous Matter of Pride Award recipient, last year's Advocate Person of the Year, the Executive Director of the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, Urvashi Vaid.
Hello, D.C. On behalf of all of us at the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, I bring you greetings from the vortex of evil, our hometown, Washington, D.C. Gay and Lesbian Pride is a special marker for us. Each year we come together to affirm our pride in being lesbian and gay, a pride that this culture of denial and coercion seeks to stifle in our lives. We gather to affirm to each other and to the world in which we live that lesbians and gay men are a beautiful, happy, healthy, natural, normal, strong, and freedom-loving people. But we must acknowledge, my friends, that lesbian and gay pride is not a one-day or one-week event. It is not an end in itself, but the beginning each year of our commitment to each other and to the gay and lesbian battle for full freedom. Let us remember that Pride Day is not just a moment to feel good about today. It is a moment commemorating a lifetime of pain caused by homophobia, pain that brought each of us here together. Let us remember that lesbian and gay pride is not a t-shirt we put on. It is a yoke of oppression we are taking off. Let us remember that behind the fun and celebration of this day, of this gay and lesbian pride, is a special public ritual. It is a testament to our people's creativity and to our commitment for justice. This community has a great deal to be proud of. Our local and national organizations are stronger than ever, enriched by the most precious activist commodity, new energy. The Gay and Lesbian Activist Alliance, Gay Law, Enlace, Latino Lesbian and Gay Organization, DC Coalition of Black Lesbians and Gay Men, Gertrude Stein Democratic Club, DC Sports, Smile, PFLAG, Whitman Walker, and so many wonderful groups. Every business, gathering place, church, and social group that provides a center for our diverse gay and lesbian community is a symbol of pride that we honor today. In my brief time with you today, I want to turn a mirror upon our lives and describe the reflection, because the mirror shows a community experiencing pride but facing enormous prejudice. Dr. Martin Luther King once said, "Peace is not the absence of tension, but the presence of justice." We who are lesbian and gay know that for us there is no peace and no justice. There is no justice in a land that denies 10% of its population full civil rights, where 46 states and the federal government have no anti-discrimination laws allowing lesbian and gay people access to simple justice. There is no peace when cities across this country post record levels of violence against lesbians and gay men. When right here in D.C., organized hate groups like the American Family Association, like the Traditional Values Coalition, and all the other bigots and bashers in suits and ties threaten our very lives with violence and annihilation simply because we proclaim pride in being who we are. There is no justice in a land that has benefited from the valor of tens and thousands of gay and lesbian soldiers, but which hunts and hounds and kicks these same soldiers out of the military if they dare to acknowledge their sexual orientation. There is no peace in a nation where 30% of all teen suicide involves gay and lesbian youth. There is no justice when the cost of a few days of the bombing and war against Baghdad would have paid for the entire AIDS budget for 1991. There is no peace in a land, no peace where women do not have simple equal rights, where Black, Latino, Asian, Native American people must beg for the right to live a life free from racial prejudice, where a cynical president is planning his re-election on the backs of the racism that got him elected in the first place, and when a cowardly Congress fails to pass a simple 101 civil rights bill because Congress is also intimidated by racism, there is no peace for us. There is no justice when 25 states and the District of Columbia criminalize our sexuality, criminalize consensual sexual relations between gay people. I just returned this morning from Nashville, Tennessee, where I'll tell you they had a great Pride celebration. And let me tell you, 2 women in Nashville have been arrested and charged under the sodomy law, and that's in 1991. How long until we get rid of these laws? There is no peace when the U.S. Department of Justice seeks to ban HIV-positive visitors and immigrants from the borders of this country for no medical reason, but for the simple political reason of appeasing the right-wing primitives who dictate domestic policy in Washington today. The litany of discrimination we face is much longer than we have time to list. I stand here before you filled with outrage and awe at the forces of homophobic bigotry and blame, of misunderstanding and misanthropy, of misogyny and racism that are arrayed against us as a lesbian and gay people. I stand here a grim and tired witness to a procession of gay and lesbian corpses. The streets of this country are like the streets of Baghdad. They are lined with the memories of gay people dead and lesbians and gay men fighting to live. The only difference is how we are meeting our deaths from AIDS, breast cancer, violence, suicide, poverty, hunger, or war. I stand here saying no more to my people's death. No more! My friends, the gay poet W.H. Auden wrote, "History is the study of questions. To ask a question is to declare war." When the history of our gay and lesbian movement is written, they will note that we dared to declare war on every part of this homophobic, racist, sexist, and unjust culture. They will note that we dared to pose the most radical of all questions. Why? Why must gay men and lesbians be persecuted? Simply because of who we are, who we love, how we live, and how we Why? Why must we accept that our lives are second class? Why must we accept the terror and the status quo of the closet? Why must we settle for national leadership which will not stand for the most honest and basic and therefore radical statement that gay and lesbian liberation seeks? The statement from the mouth of every elected official that lesbians and gay men are wonderful work together. Every day that our community organizations survive, we are accumulating power to change this world. Every day we face down discrimination. Every day that one of us stands up for our community and for our rights, we are accumulating power for social change. Every single contribution of time and money and support that you make to the gay and lesbian organizations of this community is a contribution to gay and lesbian power, and don't you forget it. And I want to ask you something. Why not? What are we waiting for? The time for liberation is right now. It's right here, and it will come by our own hands. What are we fighting about? The time for unity is right now. It's right here, and it will come by our own breath. What are we afraid of? The reality of gay and lesbian courage and strength is present today. It's right here in the faces of all the volunteers in all the booths. It's raging in our hearts. Why are we sitting on the sidelines? The moment to act is right now. Let us act in honor of those we have loved, of those we have lost, and those who are coming up behind us. Let us act for our vision. And as all of you who are biblical scholars know, Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, the people perish. That's what I'm working for. That's what this moment of pride is about. That's what gay and lesbian pride is about, and that's why we're all here. I'm proud to be a lesbian. Thank you very much, and happy Gay Pride.
I'm Rick Sincere with Gay Book Beat. Today we'll be looking at a book about culture. Over the Rainbow, The Wizard of Oz is a Secular Myth of America by Professor Paul Nathanson. There are many famous movies. There are many movies that are considered great by critics and by film scholars. There are many movies that are popular, but there are few movies that have inserted themselves into the collective consciousness of America. One movie like that is The Wizard of Oz, Victor Fleming's 1939 classic version of L. Frank Baum's turn-of-the-century novel. Who's not familiar with the characters like Dorothy Gale of Kansas, the Tin Man, the Scarecrow, the Cowardly Lion, Glinda, the Good Witch of the North, the Wicked Witch of the West, and, of course, the Wizard himself. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. There. Didn't you recognize that line automatically? Nathanson is a Canadian scholar who has written a multidisciplinary analysis of The Wizard of Oz, the movie, the book, the music, the lyrics, the actors, and the way the movie has inserted itself into American culture. Americans have been fascinated by The Wizard of Oz for more than 50 years, and this is a fascinating book in its own way. But it has one serious shortcoming. For the gay community, especially for gay men, The Wizard of Oz is a defining myth that helps us come to terms with our identity. It's a coming-of-age myth in its own way. For many years, the question, "Are you a friend of Dorothy?" was a coded way of asking if someone was gay. Over the Rainbow has become a gay anthem of love and desire, and Judy Garland is a gay icon. So the Wizard is important for much of gay America. Yet Professor Nathanson in this book only mentions the gay community, gay subculture, once in a single footnote on page 354. Can he be serious? Well, even with this unfortunate missing link, Over the Rainbow is a fascinating book, and anyone who has loved Dorothy Gale or liked the music of The Wizard of Oz should take a look at it. Over the Rainbow, The Wizard of Oz is a Secular Myth of America from State University of New York Press. It's just been published. It's by Professor Paul Nathanson. On the Gay Book Beat, I'm Rick Sincere.
Well, that wraps up this week's edition of Gay Fairfax. Don't forget to tune us in every week at this time. For Gay Fairfax, I'm Dave Hughes.
And I'm Beth Goodman. Thank you for joining us. And remember to keep the pride alive.
All right.